Hey guys, DMS here. Today I have for you the long-awaited review of the GoldPlanar GL2000. Let's check it out. Now do me a favor, if you want to see more videos like this, click that subscribe button down below. If you want to support the channel and ask me questions directly, you can on the Telegram chat, or you can get active in the community on Hi-Fi Guides. Jeez, I need a haircut. Here they are. You guys have been asking me for a really long time what I think about these, so I've really taken my time with them. I've used them a lot. I have tested them with basically everything I could throw at them, and this is what I think about the GL2000. So let's start off with build. Now, build-wise, there's a few things to note. I do love these big pads. The pads are massive, they are very comfortable. While the pads are nice, the headband is a little bit lackluster. It looks very thick, but this padding actually doesn't go too deep before it hits plastics. I'd love it if this had a suspension strap or just more padding on top, but that can be fixed with a pilot pad or an attachable pad. The other set of included pads are equally as comfortable. This is basically a hybrid pad. So you have a hybrid pad and then a solid pad. This has dual 3.5mm entry on the bottom. It swivels, it tilts, it clicks up and down. It's a bit difficult to click, but at least it holds firm. I don't think it's going to wear out too fast. Unfortunately, it is a very plasticky headphone. At its price, that's not really what I would describe as ideal. It's just a Chinese headphone housing. It's nothing super special, but it's not terrible either. It is a little bit worse in build than your average hi-fi-man. Take that how you will. I'd say this is built to a similar level of quality to the hi-fi-man HE400i, but without a suspension strap, or the HE4XX. The pads are pretty easy to come off. They come off with a standard ring, just like many other pads do, so no adhesives, nothing like that. That is nice. The cable that comes with this is also reasonably nice. It's lightweight, it's thin, it's terminated to 4.4 Pinecon, which I do love. 4.4 balance, it's a good connector. And these came in a tank of a case. I do love cases like this. I like when a headphone comes in a nice case. I don't really have a use for the big case, but it's good to know that they are well protected in shipping. Now, like I said, comfort's pretty good. They have a little bit of weight to them, but the top can have a bit of a hot spot. The pads, though, are fine. Clamp force is fine. I find this to be a reasonably comfortable headphone. Not as comfortable as a Nanda, but more comfortable than like an Edition XX. And I would say on par with a Sundara, because Sundara is more comfortable on top, but this is more comfortable in the actual ear pads, though I do think Sundara is built better. So let's move on into sound. How does this thing sound? It's not actually the worst thing I've ever heard. I've heard worse headphones. It's not great. If you liked the Phoenix, you'll probably like this. And I'm gonna go through this and say real quick, if you like this headphone, don't worry about what I say. Keep liking it, keep enjoying it. Just turn off this review. If you already have this headphone, you already like it, turn off this video, listen to it, enjoy it. I don't wanna stop anybody from enjoying music the way they want to enjoy it. And if you liked the Sivga Phoenix, you'll probably like this. I didn't like the Phoenix. I don't really like the hollow, nasally kind of tuning. I think that's the biggest weakness with this headphone besides its dynamic range, is that it is very hollow and nasally. GoldPlanar seems to have a problem tuning things. They're not very good at it. So all vocals kind of have this sound to them. They're all a little bit hollow, a little bit muffled. It's like someone's walking up and pinching the singer's nose, but across the frequency spectrum. So you get this weird effect where things can still be sibilant, but you're missing a lot of the actual vocal range. It doesn't sound great, but it's an interesting combination because they are very fast. It's a detailed planar, but it's just really messed up tonally, and the timbre suffers because of this. You don't get a lot of vocal presence, you don't get a lot of good vocal clarity, you just get this strange nasally hollow echo. Bass extension is pretty good, and the lower mid-range is actually great. I like the bass and lower mid-range on this. Like I said, it's very fast. It does lack dynamics though, and an artifact of compression is sometimes, I would say, mistaken as an improvement in sound quality. So when I say compression, I'm not referring to compression like WAV to MP3 or something like that. I'm talking about compression in dynamic range. People sometimes put something on and say, wow, I hear things in the background that I never heard before, and sometimes that can be because the background is pulled way up. There's not much range to the headphone. Everything is compressed in as far as the highest and lowest points of volume are concerned. For an example of this is my microphone right now in the room. I'm not going to change my microphone's volume at all, but right now, I'm going to compress my microphone much more. There's less dynamic range, and it sounds different. You can hear the room, you can hear all this extra background space that you didn't hear before, and that's because I no longer have any dynamic range to my voice, no more dynamic range in the recording. So while you're hearing more, you're also getting significantly less dynamics. Everything is crunched in and really compressed hard. And running a dynamic range test on these headphones revealed that they are probably one of the most compressed headphones that I've heard. I want to say again, not the worst headphone I heard. The worst headphone I think I've ever heard was the Bowers & Wilkins P9. The Phoenix was not too far behind that. In some ways, I could see why people liked it. If you do like just that really hollow sort of timbre, that really hollow tuning, really compressed, really nasally, with like kind of blurred vocals, then you might like this. As we move into treble, it kind of becomes a bit of a roller coaster with dips and peaks. Now, this is all pre-measuring. I don't actually measure these headphones until after I've already reviewed them and formed my opinions on them. So this headphone is not even going to be measured until after I filmed this video, and then I'll have the measurements on the screen while I'm talking. So these measurements I actually have not seen as of the time of filming this video. Oddly enough, even though it's a fast headphone, the extreme compression spreads through into the bass, and as a result we lose a lot of slam and impact. While we still have good bass extension, it's not very impactful bass extension. So interestingly enough, you get those super deep notes, and you get them in a way that still sounds fast, but it doesn't have nearly as much impact as it should. It really boils down to this. This is not a very competitive headphone for sound quality, comfort, or build at its price range. If this was maybe $200, I would be pretty impressed with it. I would say this sounds like a slightly larger but more faulted version of the Takstar HF580, which is the $150 over-ear planar headphone. I would not at all say this competes or have any advantages over the Sundara from HiFiMan, with the exception of pad size. Now, EQ can help this headphone, and both sets of pads do change the sound a little bit, but it doesn't really fix the nasally timbre characteristics or the very grainy high end. I want to clarify for everyone watching this video, yes, this is the double-sided version of this headphone, double-sided magnet. Truth be told, double-sided magnets don't matter that much. But in this case, I wanted to make sure that I'm getting the headphone that everyone was talking about. Generally speaking, magnet strength and trace optimization matter more than having magnets on both sides of the driver. But if this is considered the better out of the two, I'm not sure that I want to hear the single-sided version. So GL2000, Soundstage, let's talk a little bit about that, and imaging, then power, and we'll wrap it from there. Soundstage is very much like the ortho wall sound, the wall of sound you get from a planar. Nothing particularly spaces out. It's not very wide, but it does go outside of the head a little bit, more so than your average headphone, more so than things like a 6XX, or for some reason I'm thinking of a Klipsch HP3 right now, but I would say that this is nowhere near as wide as something like an Edition XX or an Ananda. Sundara at times can get wider than this. Sundara is definitely more separated instrumentally than this is. And imaging, I would say the imaging isn't terrible, but it's not exceptional. Imaging on this is kind of 3 blobs, similar to the 6XX, where you just kind of get a rough left, a rough right, and a rough center. Sometimes I will get songs that pick out things in between there, but it's very rare. Soundstage and imaging are significantly better on things like the Harmonic Dyne Zeus, which was absolutely fantastic when it comes to soundstage and imaging, especially for its price point. I want to say around $350, about half the price of this. Maybe if this had come out 10 years ago, then it probably would have been a more competitive headphone. And I think it really is just bad timing on GoldPlanar's part. I wish that this headphone had been around 10 years ago, because then we would have had something interesting. But the problem is headphones have gotten a lot better and a lot cheaper, and for this price point, this is no longer even remotely competitive. So, as unfortunate as that is, I cannot recommend the GoldPlanar GL2000. If you want better tuning, better technical capability, something like the Sundara is great. If you want better soundstage and imaging, the Harmonic Dyne Zeus is fantastic. I feel as though this might be another one of those companies that's just kind of passing through. We get a lot of these hype train headphones where a company will make something, everyone will freak out about it for a little while, they'll make a couple more things, and then they'll fall off the map a few years later when people move on to the next hype train item. And this is definitely a hype train item. This is not a long-term listening headphone. This is not something that you're going to buy and use for, 5 years. This is something a lot of people are going to buy. They're going to use it for a little while. You're going to see them all over the used market, and then a few months later they're going to be buying the next hype train item. There will be a few people that hang on to things like this. It reminds me a lot of the Audio Phantom. When that came out, everyone said, "Oh, this is the best thing on the planet. This is insane. Nothing's ever been this good." And then everyone forgot about it and moved on to the Phoenix, and everyone said, "Oh my gosh, this is the best headphone. It's so competitive. Nothing has ever been like this." And then they all forgot about it and they moved on, and then, "Oh my gosh, this is the best headphone. Nothing is like this. It's so competitive." The cycle repeats itself. So honestly, enjoy what you have. Save your money. Don't worry about it. You don't need to be on the hype train. I think I'm gonna wrap this one up with power. So for power requirements, it's not too bad. I'm glad that it came with a balanced connector. I did adapt it to single-ended, and some amps had a little bit of trouble with it, but truth be told, basically anything is going to power this headphone. You could run it off a liquid spark, you could run it off of an atom. It doesn't scale that well from amp to amp unless you are looking for speed. So if you're registering the speed of an amp, it works pretty well for that, but dynamics, detail, staging, tone doesn't really scale at all from amp to amp, so it doesn't really matter too much what you have this plugged into unless you're specifically listening for speed. I do hope though that I'm wrong. I hope that GoldPlanar can retune this or come up with something that is more rounded and less of just a driver thrown in a housing, because I would love to see a newcomer come in this price range and crush the market, but it doesn't seem like today is that day. So guys, I'm gonna wrap this one up. If you like this video, please leave a like down below, a comment letting me know what you want to see in the future. If you want to get active in the community, you can at forum.hifiguides.com, and as always, don't forget to stick around and subscribe for more videos like this in the future. Till the next one, guys. Peace.